It can be tough for women to maintain financial balance when there is always that tinkering temptation to spend. Kimberly Wilson shows us in her new book, Tranquilista, Mastering the Art of Enlightened Work and Mindful Play, that we can certainly maintain spirituality, beauty, and style without, and this is key, breaking the bank. That's the hardest thing. How are you, Kimberly?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
We were just talking to the break, and I just think this is so important because you've got to look at where you come from when you talk about finances, I think. And we all have a certain thought of how it should be.
Right. Definitely, and we're all brought up a certain way. For example, for me, I made $2 a week allowance whenever I was younger, actually through high school, I think. And I started a savings account in the 3rd grade with my $2 a week allowance. And, you know, if I were to get with someone who's a big spender, we would clash with the way in which we manage our finances, home, etc.
Right, so you basically say to start asking yourself some questions to uncover kind of why you are the way you are with money.
Right. Well, I think one person said to me once, which I really like, is that we vote with our dollars. And we also share our values to a large degree with our dollars, the way in which we spend our money. Like, do you go to farmers markets? Or do you, and go out of your way? Some people have to really go out of their way to go to a farmer's market. Or do you prefer to go to the nearest kind of convenience store? Again, no judgment, just observation. Or do you even like to grow your vegetables in your backyard or herbs in your windowsill, garden in your apartment?
Do you think a lot of people don't sit back and think, this is how I am? They just do?
Yeah, and so that's why I think really kind of doing a little bit of reflection. And how did your family spend money? Were there clashes? I mean, there's so many clashes about money, with people's parents as you grow up. You see that. And so it's like, that really speaks to who you are. Were you embarrassed about your financial status? Are you trying to overcompensate now? So how do these things play into your everyday decisions?
If your family was a certain way, and say, like it or not, sometimes we mirror ourselves after our mothers or our fathers. It's just the example that we grew up with. But you're owning it, and you want to deviate away from that and change.
Right.
Can it be done when it's so in your own habit of the way you spend, the way you save?
Absolutely. So for example, for me, I grew up with a family who loved, they were very into their hobbies. So my father had a dark room, spent a lot of money on equipment such as that. My mother, every DVD and CD that came out, that's where she spent her money, or the crafts. And so for me, what I've tried to do is really be cognizant of not obtaining a lot of stuff, not getting so in depth into hobbies that I have to have every marker associated with it. So it's really looking at how you grew up, what worked, what didn't work. My parents were very good savers too, so that clearly worked. I brought that on. But do I need to collect everything? I don't need to collect everything. So I think as long as you can take a step back and do a little bit of evaluation about it and how it felt for you, I think you can make some changes.
It seems like the self changes need to happen first, because when you're in a relationship, if you don't know where you're coming from, or you don't realize who you are, the other person probably does. That's what always happens. The other person knows how the other person is when it comes to spending, but it would help if you knew yourself first.
Right, yeah, and to get clear, what do you want to indulge on? So say you love to go out to dinner with friends. Well, that adds up. So one minor suggestion that I have, or simple suggestion, is do drinks and dessert instead. You don't have to go out for a full meal. Especially for me, I'm a vegetarian, so if I go out and I split a meal with a bunch of people, I'm always going to come away having to pay a lot more for their meal. So, one simple thing to do is just, I'll meet you for a drink, I'll meet you for dessert, or let's meet for tea. So little things like that, because going out and socializing, that adds up. Or buying your water bottle, or buying, bottled tea. Why not make your own? Carry that with you.
There are a lot of things throughout the course of a day that you don't think of.
Right.
That just kind of add up. If you were to collect, all your receipts, or just go through your check card that day and say, how did this happen?
It's scary. Yeah.
It happens a whole lot.
A whole lot. I mean, even just tallied up, keep track of how you're spending your money for a week. You'll be shocked at how much, dispensable income that you're just kind of throwing out, a latte here, a cab ride here, when really you could walk and get a little exercise potentially. So there's just little ways that if you really look at it and keep a journal, similar how people who are trying to lose weight or something will keep a food journal, keep a money journal. It's really eye-opening.
Yeah, it's probably scary at the same time for a lot of people. You also have some tranquil tips, you say, to stretch your dollar. So please do share.
Sure. So definitely packing lunch is a big thing, because then you get the nutritional value you want. If you are a big foodie, you get exactly what you're looking for. And then you can go and enjoy your lunch like in the park or whatever and avoid kind of having to go out and spend at a restaurant. Another thing that's really big right now is shopping secondhand, or definitely shopping local. And I picked up these fabulous boots. I got these in San Francisco.
Nice.
It's so funny. I so wanted a new pair of over-the-knee boots. And then I found these at a secondhand shop. So I was like, oh, it's like I'm consuming but do-gooding at the same time. You know?
You're feeling good at the same time.
Check.
Yeah, I need this, I need this. I think you're really seeing that turnaround, and maybe it's because what's happened to us in the last year or so that people realize that you don't have to spend a whole lot to maybe get something you need or just a little bit you want.
Totally. Take up sewing. Start crafting. Begin making your own necklaces. I mean, there's so many things you can do, and then you have one-of-a-kind pieces, which are even more special.
I think a lot of people are just so used to feeling the, I guess it feels maybe fills a void by getting something you want and getting it, you know, immediately at the store.
Right.
But somehow you need to figure out how not to do that.
Yeah, or fill it with something else. Like maybe instead, like for me, my big thing, I love clothes, and I have my own clothing line, so that's easy. And then books. And so that's my big vice, books. But you know what? There's worse vices to have than book buying, right?
That's true. There's much more out there. And that's for another segment.
That's a whole other segment.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Good tips. Coming